Those are probably the coolest videos to do, garage updates. Well, finally garage updates since I sold the BMW M5, which was my daily. It's time for a new daily. Welcome to my BMW M2. When I sold the BMW M5, I was pretty much certain that it will be replaced by an M car and not a Mercedes or whatsoever. The only question which was kind of unanswered for me was which M car. So after hours and hours on the internet talking to friends and watching a bunch of videos and Instagram, I made up my mind for the BMW M2. I did around 3,000 kilometers in the car by now. So happy. Honestly, you know, when you make a choice and you feel good about it, well, that's the case right now. Obviously, there are ups and downs. That goes for any car. So today the video will be very simple. I will be talking to you what I like and what I dislike about this car, because this is the type of video which I thought would be very useful before I bought it.
Rage, power, weakest, falls, money, driven, major, fraud, breathless, buddy, diamond, goes, wanna be it, wanna feel it.
So the car is very fun, let's put it this way. It's fun to drive. It can get you quite pumped. So I like that. I like the emotion it gives me behind the steering wheel. It's definitely not, I've paid a lot of money but I don't get the game or I don't get excited. Definitely not this. Everybody has an opinion on BMW design all the time, we know that. I like it. It's different, it doesn't look like any other car, it has those crazy squared lines, the rear looks super wide, the front is angry. I mean, what could we really ask for more from BMW? I think for a starter sports car, can't get better looking than that. Interior, classic BMW interior, I really like it. It's very straightforward, everything is where you need it. I did get used to the screen. I think it's a bit overcomplicated for pretty much nothing, where you go into this menu and you have all those icons. I mean, it's useless, you can throw it out, it makes no difference, but otherwise everything is at hand. The only thing I would do is I would remove the temperature back to a normal knob, because I like my screen neat and clean, and now I have to make it dirty with my fingers to change the temperature inside the car. Otherwise, inside the interior, so I have the full carbon pack, which I really wanted, because that gives you those carbon pallets. Otherwise, you get those metal ones, pretty much the same that you would get into like a 240. So I really wanted the full cent for the buck, let's put it this way. I didn't want to kind of go halfway when buying it. I didn't spec the car, so I bought it in an existing spec. Car had around 6,000 kilometers when I bought it, so still new but not new, which kind of made it better in terms of value. Because over here in Europe, you know, Switzerland, France, etc., you buy this car new, you're gonna be looking at like 80+ K on a full spec. I think this is just way too much. I don't think the car costs that. You can probably get an M3 at this price, slightly used, but it's an M3, and you get a 4-wheel drive. Other points of what I like: I really like the power delivery, I really like the engine. You don't need more, really. Perfect power. I could even say a bit less, but whatever, let's say it's enough. I really like my sitting position in this car, and I really like this seat. Coming from a BMW M5, where you had this very nice comfortable sofa, where you could also move the upper part of the seat up and down, which was a cool feature, but I still found myself a little small for the M5 seat. I'm 1.69 m, and I thought I'm just a bit too small for that. Whereas here, I'm just so perfect. I picked up the car in Germany, so I had to do like a 10-hour drive, and that was just amazing. It was super comfortable, zero pains in the back. I really like the size of this car, because I was exactly searching for a small car, as I've moved down to Monaco recently. Everything is super tight, super small, nowhere ever to park, so I was actually searching for a short wheelbase car, something that I could get around on a daily basis. So I think this really kind of ticked this perfectly, as you know, can't get better than a daily than that. It is a bit wide, it's probably as wide as a normal car, but nevertheless kind of doesn't feel like it. You get used to it. And BMW also doesn't offer you a 360 camera in the M2, which I find a bit weird. Another point why I really like this car, it's not overfilled with tech that we don't use, which we don't really need. You know, the speccing of this car is very simple. What I really care about myself, for example, is I have to be comfortable, the music has to sound good, and the drive has to be great. And the rest, I don't really need. Like cruise control, yeah, cool, it has a cruise control. How often am I gonna use it? Probably never, once, twice. Something I would say that I like about this car as well, and you are totally gonna disagree with me on that, is the sound. There is no sound in the car. From a perspective of a huge car fan, car lover, the car has no sound for being an M car. Negative. When you put it in Sport Plus, something opens and it makes a little more bzzz, but that's pretty much it. But for me, this is a daily. This is a car that, you know, I go shopping with to buy groceries. I go to town, I go to meetings, I go to work and stuff. And I was thinking that I don't really want a loud car. I don't want to wake up everybody when I started. When I drive inside the city, I don't want to look like a guy who wants everybody to be looked at. When I go on the motorway, I want the car to be quiet. But in the same time, I kind of want the power. But then I still want to have the power. I want to still have the traction. I still want to have the stability of a sports car. So it's funny that I'm gonna say that, but I like that it's quiet. Well, thank you BMW, for once I'm gonna agree with you. However, if this would be my weekend car, I would hate it, because to buy an M car that sounds like this is quite ridiculous. So BMW, how about you throw this exhaust out, you make another one, and then we just have this valve button that actually works and is not there for show. Because now to have a valve button here that makes nothing, and then on the settings menu you can have the M sound, which also does literally nothing, I think is a bit stupid. Then let's switch to the stuff that I don't like about the car. And the first thing that drives me completely nuts in this car is its fuel capacity. BMW, why are you putting a 50-liter tank into a sports car? Basically, what that translates to is you have a car that never has fuel. You have to fuel up all the time. You drive on the motorway, you have, look now, the range is 330 kilometers. But that's because I was driving fast. But still, you could probably pull in 400, 450 range. But once you start having fun with the car, then the fuel just ends. Because the fuel tank is tiny, and I don't understand why they couldn't just go ahead and put a new tank. The upside of that is it always seems like it's very cheap to fill up, because you tend to fill up like 40 liters, and then you look at the price and you're like, oh wow, that wasn't that bad. Stuff I don't like is the whole BMW security stuff. So basically it beeps whenever you drive past the speed limit, and you can't turn it off, but the annoying thing is that you have to turn it every single time you get in the car. I think that's just completely ridiculous. I tried, I couldn't find the option. If you guys have a solution for that, let me in the comments. Another point, I can't say really I don't like it. I like it, the fact that this car is a rear-wheel drive. It, you know, kind of adds a little fun spark into the driving experience. But the one thing I just don't understand is why wouldn't they put a four-wheel drive option, which could have been just a bit more expensive for us people that live in mounty regions. It's just such a cool option to have, you know. Like now, if I'm gonna drive to Switzerland, which I do a lot for work, I have to think like, is it gonna snow on the pass or it won't? Because even if I have a good winter tire, I still may get stuck. So I would love to have an M2 with a four-wheel drive option. I think that then the car would just be priceless, because such a small package that would fit everything, that would just be amazing. And also the fact you can hear it beeping now going over speed limit, so I have to turn it off. Because the technology is there, like you have the M4, M3, M5 that all have the technology with a rear-wheel drive and a four-wheel drive. I know it would be a bit more expensive, but then you can sell it as a separate package. And other than that, it's actually very hard to find any other flaws in this car. We could talk that the finishing is really not great. Like we have a bunch of plastic bits here and on the doors, and all of this is, yeah, it's a bit poor. It's a bit poor, especially after I've been driving in the M5, jumping into the M2. You do notice all of those plasticky bits. But once again, isn't it the drive which is the most important? And I also can't argue for how much I've paid for this car, you know. I've probably bought the cheapest horsepower per euro you could find currently on the market from new cars that are still on warranty, that can drive for 2 years, flip without losing too much. The overall conclusion for me for the BMW M2 would be, it could never be my dream car, and I think it cannot be your dream car either, because I think it doesn't deserve to be the dream car, because there's just so many things that are better in older cars, for example, such as noise, you know, build quality, a bit more of a raw sensation, because this, we are already kind of in the digital world of cars, you know. It becomes a bit more of a computer game as of driving, and the further we go, the more of this feeling we're gonna get. We're gonna go far and far away from analog cars, unfortunately. So cannot be your dream car because it's just too modern. Very, very easy answer. However, when you look at it from the perspective of wanting quite a bit of horsepower, somewhat comfortable drive, decent boot size, and 2 seats in the back which you can flip and, you know, put skis or whatever inside, very angry look, very cool designing decisions, decent consumption, you know, when you add all of those things up, I think it just makes a really good daily. Not a supercar, but a very fun everyday car that you can, you know, take to work, and in the meantime just have a smile on your face, and then you can go into a little city and park in a little hole because the car is not massive. I think that's what the one thing I would add is 10-15 liters of fuel capacity to the car, and then that thing would be priceless.